I want you to imagine receiving a video from your best friend. They're crying. They tell you they're in trouble and they need money immediately. You hear their exact voice. You see their face. Everything about it looks perfectly real, except it never happened. That entire video was created entirely by artificial intelligence. Welcome back to Digital Mzansi. In today's explainer, we're exploring one of the biggest and, frankly, most terrifying changes AI might bring to human civilization.
Because think about it, just a few short years ago, seeing was believing. It was our absolute ultimate benchmark for what was true. But today, seeing is rapidly becoming questioning. Everything in that hypothetical video from your best friend looks and sounds totally real, but it's a complete fabrication.
Okay, let's dive into this. What actually happens to a society when nobody knows what's real anymore? We aren't just talking about some weird technological glitch here. We are talking about a fundamental shift in how human beings interact, how we share information, and how we build our communities.
Section 1. The end of believing. Reality had anchors.
To truly grasp the magnitude of this shift, we kind of have to look back at how truth functioned before all this. For most of human history, reality had reliable physical anchors. If someone stood right in front of you, you believed they were actually there. If a photograph or recording existed, it captured a real moment in time. Someone actually spoke those exact words. Now, sure, these weren't absolute guarantees. People could still lie, photos could be doctored, stories got exaggerated. But here's the thing. Creating a genuinely convincing fake reality required an enormous, painstaking amount of effort. Today, one person sitting at a laptop with AI can instantly bypass that entire barrier. They can generate a hyper-realistic photograph of an event that never occurred, or clone a voice saying things that person literally never said.
The barrier to creating fakes has just completely disappeared. And as that technological barrier vanishes, something much deeper and honestly much more vital to our society begins to disappear right alongside it. Our foundational confidence. We're losing the default assumption that what we are looking at is actually real.
Section 2. The cost of doubt. The danger is doubt itself.
At first glance, it's so easy to think the main danger of AI is just the fake content itself. But honestly, that's probably just the beginning. The deeper, much more insidious danger is doubt itself. Imagine living in a world where literally every single recording, every photograph, and every confession can be immediately dismissed and challenged. Eventually, something really strange and concerning happens to our collective psyche. People stop asking the objective question, is this true? And instead they start asking a much more defeated question, can I trust anything anymore?
So, the crucial point is that truth doesn't disappear overnight. Trust does, because reality suddenly becomes negotiable. Now, human beings have always disagreed on things, right? Politics, religion, history, culture. But AI introduces a totally new problem. Two people can now watch the exact same event online and walk away believing two completely different manufactured versions. And it's not because they aren't smart. It's because the evidence they were exposed to was manipulated or hyper-personalized to their specific biases. The challenge of the future might no longer be about finding information. It might be discovering whether that information actually deserves our trust. Section 3. Hacking psychology. Testing our limits.
To understand why this loss of trust is so incredibly effective, we have to look at the fascinating mechanics behind why we're so susceptible to it in the first place. Consider this. People rarely believe something just because it's true. They believe it because it feels believable. AI understands human persuasion perfectly. Obviously, it doesn't do this by actually feeling emotions, but by flawlessly recognizing our deep-seated psychological patterns. It actively hacks our psychology. It generates stories that sound flawlessly convincing. It creates images that look authentically flawed and real. It synthesizes voices that carry familiar cadences and emotion. You see, our human brains evolved over millennia specifically to recognize patterns. AI knows this. So AI isn't just testing the limits of our modern technology, it is actively testing the limits of our ancient psychology.
Section 4. Threat of resignation. The darkest consequence.
And this psychological hacking leads us to what is arguably the most dangerous scenario of an AI-driven world. The absolute greatest danger isn't simply that AI can create fake realities. The real threat is that we become so incredibly overwhelmed by the sheer volume of uncertainty that we simply stop caring about the truth altogether. We just throw our hands up and give up. Picture this terrifying scenario for a second. You hear some shocking news, or you're presented with genuine hard evidence of an event, and you instantly dismiss it out of hand.
You just wave it away, saying, well, AI can make anything now, so it's probably fake.
When we reach that point, we are living in a world that isn't just defined by deception, it's a world defined by resignation. When every single thing is questionable, nothing feels worth defending anymore. This leads to a dangerous societal apathy where accountability totally vanishes, all because the truth is seen as an impossible pursuit.
Section 5. Shared reality. An empowering solution.
Let's move to how this builds into something we can actually control, because we do not have to surrender to resignation. There is a way forward here. The future likely won't require all of us to suddenly become computer scientists or AI experts. Instead, it's going to require something much older: discernment. We absolutely must slow down before sharing. We have to verify before believing, and we need to question before reacting. We've got to stop viewing critical thinking as this boring academic chore. Because in a world where almost anything can be synthetically generated, critical thinking and human judgment become absolutely priceless, modern-day survival skills.
We really have to place this in a broader historical context. Every single generation inherits a monumental challenge. Previous generations fought for freedom. Some fought for equality. Others fought for universal access to knowledge.
Our generation's monumental fight is going to be for something arguably even more foundational. We are fighting to protect our shared reality. This is the fundamental consensus of truth. Because if you think about it, democracy completely depends on a shared reality. Justice depends on it. Our personal relationships depend on it. Our very ability to trust one another is completely rooted in this shared understanding of what is actually real.
So as we face this massive wave of synthetic media, remember this: the future may not belong to the people or the algorithms that can create the most convincing images. It may actually belong to those of us who still care enough to pause and ask this one critical question: how do we know this is true?
If today's conversation made you pause before believing the very next thing you see online, then we've accomplished something worthwhile today. If you enjoy exploring the human side of artificial intelligence, make sure to subscribe to Digital Mzansi, because in our next explainer, we're asking a question that affects every single one of us: the death of boring work. Until then, don't just consume information, question it.